Welcome back to MythVision Podcast. I'm your host, Derek Lambert. I have a special guest. I'm shocked we haven't had him on yet on the channel, and that is Dr. Robert Cargill. Welcome back to MythVision. Actually, not back. Welcome to MythVision for your first time.
Happy to be here, Derek. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I want to get into the curse tablet, quote unquote. Notice I already called it something that they labeled it. What the heck is going on here? So I noticed that you had a YouTube channel, and I've noticed it for some time, but you did a video about this topic. It is in the description. Go watch it if you want to see a more exhaustive approach where you're looking close at the drawings and some of the stuff, and you're highly skeptical. So to tease our audience up before we introduce you is that you need to watch his YouTube channel. You need to check out that video for sure. Can you introduce us to MythVision's audience and allow us to know your background, your expertise, and maybe what we're going to get into today?
Sure. My name is Robert Cargill. I'm Associate Professor of Classics and Biblical Studies at the University of Iowa, so go Hawks. I'm also the editor of an online website and YouTube channel. The website is Bible and Archeology. The website is Excavator. It's my own brand, but it's working with the Bible and Archeology website. And this started off as an online service, basically an online news and information service that quickly morphed into basically a place where we can provide YouTube content, because we noticed that, print magazines have been on their way out for a long time, but everything went towards YouTube. And because the technology got so good so quickly, and because I've been doing TV for, it's been since like 2004, 2005, and I don't even want to think about how many years that is, but it was before this was white. I know that. I've been doing it for a while, and so we decided to just start writing popular content. I've been doing public scholarship for a long time, and it's that intersection between the Bible and biblical studies and archaeology. So it's not just biblical archaeology, but it's the Bible and archaeology. And I'm here at the University of Iowa, this beautiful place. Marshalltown, by the way, where they make all the trowels, is just here in Iowa, just up the road. And so we partnered together with Marshalltown, and we put together Bible and Archaeology. And so I edit Bible and Archaeology, I teach my courses, and I try to provide as much reliable content directly to the public as I can.
I see you also have a few publications, which on your actual website or the Iowa website, they mention these publications, but I want everyone to notice on Amazon, you can get one right now, affordable, really affordable, The Cities That Built the Bible. What a heck of a title. That really piques my curiosity. You told me to call you Bob before we hit record, so I'm going to comfortably begin to call you Bob at this point. I just wanted to formally have you presented to our audience, but that is interesting. I've had others like Ronald Hindle join me, mentioning where do the ideas of giants come from. And it's interesting, maybe they approached these massive cities after they had to leave and notice these massive blocks and go, only a giant could have been, the imagination runs wild. But you also published another book, and that is Melchizedek, King of Sodom, How Scribes Invented the Biblical Priest King. What in the world is going on here, Bob?
Yeah, so these are two different approaches. One, Cities That Built the Bible, is a book that I published with Harper One. This is a HarperCollins unit. And the premise here is, how did we get the Bible that we have today? And so what I tried to do is tell the story of how we got our modern day Bible by looking at some of the cities that contributed to the building of the Bible. So we look at Phoenicia, Byblos and Tyre, and we look at kind of, where this concept of an alphabet comes from, the Phoenician alphabet. We look at Ugarit and the transition from cuneiform into this consonantal system. And then we look at, Nineveh as a representative of Assyria. We look at Babylon, right? And all of these using the cities to look at the contribution of the context of ancient Israel. And then, of course, we move through the intertestamental period. We look at Alexandria, we look at Athens, and then we transition into the New Testament. We end up in Rome and the canonization of the Bible. And it's written at a popular level, so anyone can read this. I explain everything like someone would do in a church or in a synagogue. So you don't need to have knowledge of Hebrew or Greek. I really do teach at like a freshman level or maybe a high school senior level. And so that's what that book is. It was me telling stories about travels and trying to blend that into some of the questions that I get a lot when I teach at the University of Iowa. So that's a popular book. Melchizedek is the opposite of that. The Melchizedek volume is a very technical volume, which has a pretty simple premise, and that is that Melchizedek wasn't the king of Shalem. He was actually the king of Sodom. And that the way that we have it in Genesis 14 today is due to scribal changes to the text of the Bible. And yes, there were changes made to the text of the Bible over time, right? It happened multiple times. And so my argument is that if you read Genesis 14 with Melchizedek not being a separate figure that just vanishes in and vanishes away, like, Hebrews reads it later on, like many of the Second Temple traditions read Melchizedek. But if you read Melchizedek as the same person as the king of Sodom, that the story makes a whole lot more sense. And so then I try to back away, try to set that argument up and then try to show it linguistically, try to show it contextually. But again, it's done in Hebrew, it's got Aramaic, it's got Ugaritic, it's a very technical volume done with Oxford University Press. So they'll probably charge you a little more if you get that book.
And I hope that anybody who's interested in diving into that material, please, check it out, drop a review, let us know. I mean, let Bob know, let him know that, hey, MythVision sent me and MythVision got me aware of your work. And I love your work because that's what I do. I really enjoy what I've seen so far from you, Dr. Cargill. I might try to bounce back and forth between formal and Bob, so you've done a lot of work. It seems to be, a lot of these ancient languages. You're an expert in the field. So you came across this curse tablet, and Scott Stripling, Dr. Stripling, he was fully convincing to you right out the gate, it appears, right? Like you just knew this guy's telling us the full truth about what's happening.
I try to be as professional as I can. I'm a big believer in the academic process and being professional, and that carries over into public scholarship. And this is something that I've noticed not just in the political realm that we live in today, where, professionalism and courtesy and diplomacy is just thrown out the window and you just scream at each other.
Right.
But in the academic context, especially in the, when it's talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls or Second Temple Judaism, there are people who are professional and there are people who aren't as much. And so I really try to have everybody get along with each other. I'm a positive person. I want people to get along and to follow the academic processes. There are problems with them, to be sure, and they can be improved and critiqued. But I like it when scholars follow the scientific method, make a claim, and then support the claim, and then we debate the claim. We disagree with each other, and then we go out and have a beer. We go out and have a diet soda or whatever. That's how this works. Iron sharpens iron, and we make each other stronger. And then, some of us public scholars come along and try to explain that whole mess to the public. What Dr. Stripling did is he bypassed all that and he went directly to the media. And let me just say from the outset, there is no inscription on that so-called inscription. And he just bypassed the academic, the peer review, all of that. And he just held a press conference and he went directly to the public, knowing that this was going to help him raise funds, which is not illegal. That's legal. Nothing he's done is illegal, to my knowledge. It's completely legal for him to make an absurd claim. It's completely legal for him to recruit students to his fundamentalist seminary. That's legal. Everything he's doing is legal. So let's just put that out there. But it's not good scholarship. Let's just say it that way. And so I don't call him names. I don't call, it's Dr. Stripling all the time, Dr. Galil, his partner in this, but it's It's been an absurd claim since the beginning. And this is why you won't see any legitimate publications, academic publications, publishing this thing. Academic publications do not publish unprovenanced artifacts, and that's what this is. It's a 2-centimeter piece of lead that's been sitting in a dump pile for 40 years. It's unprovenanced. And all of the academic publications have gotten together and said, we don't publish this. All the museums don't display these things. And he knows that. And so he had to bypass all that and hold a press conference. And from the outset, this has been a media campaign. It's been designed to raise money. It's been designed to recruit students to his digs, to his seminary. And so I think it's important that public scholars, not just me, there are several of us on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, that are trying to basically say, we know that academic publications are never going to address this. So we need to take up, it's been a media campaign, we'll deal with it in the media. And that's what we're doing.
So there's a lot you just said that I think is fascinating. You used to work for a publication. Can you tell us a little bit about the process when you were in, I guess you'd say in charge, or you had some serious role in publishing, I guess you'd say provenance objects, but what can you give us some insight on where you used to work and what, you know?
Sure. You're referring to Biblical Archaeology Review.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So after Herschel Shanks resigned from Biblical Archaeology Review, I was brought in as the editor of BAR. And one of my jobs was to give it some academic credibility. Now, they had some academic credibility, but there was a long history of them publishing on provenance things, of stirring controversy, which, you know, as a magazine, you're going to do because you want to sell copies. But a lot of times it was thought that it was done in a way that, you know, was just stirring controversy. And so what we wanted to do was basically bring BAR into a more credible situation where we're not publishing unprovenance things anymore. And so that was one of the first changes I made, is no more publishing unprovenanced things like the James ossuary or the, you know, this box that, you know, had oxygen breathed into it, you know, life breathed into it, because it kept getting published by BAR. The other one was, you know, we weren't going to take ads from places like the Museum of the Bible that was knowingly buying black market Dead Sea Scrolls, fragments. And we just weren't going to be involved with an organization that all these scholars were saying, you can't do this. And then, of course, they got busted. It became very clear that all of these Dead Sea Scrolls things that they had been buying were forgeries. And, that was embarrassing. And they had to admit that. And then they had to send back all these other looted things that they had purchased. And we didn't want to take ads from them, and we didn't want to publish unprovenance things. And so for the 3-something years that I was editor, we didn't do that. And now what we're seeing is, I'm no longer the editor there, that BAR has published a couple of these things about the Mount Ebal inscription, and they're doing it, asking the question, what do you think about this? But the problem is they're giving it oxygen, they're giving it light by publishing it in this magazine. They're putting it out there for their readers to see. They're giving it some legitimacy, and they're taking ads from the Museum of the Bible, and they're doing some things that I wouldn't, and that is completely their prerogative, and they get to do that, and that's what they get to do. But it's not something that I did when I was editor there. And again, the reasons for that is you want to promote public scholarship, and you want to do it in a responsible way. And I understand that academic world is different from the public world. I've been doing this for 20 years. But you want to do it in a responsible way, a way that entertains and that asks questions and that gets the public interested. But you cannot give oxygen to these absurd claims. And let's just be very honest. This so-called Mount Ebal inscription is an absurd claim at every level.